You see, if you're not familiar with firearms, these babies can go off. Now...
He collapsed right on the TV set, gasping for air. Everyone laughed, thinking it was his famous fake heart attack routine. It wasn't. This is just one of the 20 heartbreaking stories of the sitcom stars we grew up with, whose final chapters were filled with unbelievable sadness, shocking twists, and battles fought in the dark. 1. Red Fox from Sanford and Son.
Elizabeth, if you're looking down on all this, honey, don't look.
Many people are crazy about the classic show Sanford and Son. A huge part of its charm was the grumpy but lovable Fred Sanford, played by the hilarious comedian Red Fox. One of his most famous running gags was faking a heart attack. Whenever he was in trouble or wanted sympathy, he would grab his chest, look up to the sky, and yell, "This is the big one, Elizabeth. I'm coming to join you." It was a line that made audiences roar with laughter every single time. You see, Red had a long and successful career even before the show, but playing Fred Sanford made him a household name. What many overlooked is that while he was making America laugh, he was dealing with serious financial problems in his real life. He owed a lot of money in taxes, and it was a constant stress for him. In 1991, he was trying to make a comeback with a new sitcom called The Royal Family. During a rehearsal, he started joking around with the cast. Then, suddenly, he grabbed his chest and fell to the floor. Everyone on set started laughing. They thought he was just doing his classic big one routine, but he wasn't joking. Red Fox was having a real, massive heart attack. It took a few moments for his co-stars to realize something was terribly wrong. By then, it was too late. He passed away a few hours later at the age of 68, in a way that was, to put it mildly, shockingly similar to his most famous joke. It was a truly tragic end for a comedy legend. But believe it or not, another huge sitcom star from that era also passed away right on set, leaving his cast members in a state of total shock and confusion. 2. John Ritter from Three's Company.
Here, take a whiff. Doesn't that make you want to tear off my clothes?
No, it makes me wish we had separate bathrooms.
If you were watching TV in the late 70s and early 80s, you absolutely loved John Ritter. As the clumsy but charming Jack Tripper on Three's Company, he was a master of physical comedy. He could trip over a rug or get into a misunderstanding and make it look like the funniest thing in the world. John was known for being one of the nicest guys in Hollywood, a genuinely warm and funny person, both on and off the screen. After Three's Company, his career continued to thrive. By 2003, he had another hit show called 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, where he played a caring and funny dad. He was at the top of his game. One day on set, while rehearsing for an episode, John started to feel unwell. He said he was feeling faint, started sweating, and felt sick to his stomach. The symptoms looked a lot like a heart attack. He was rushed to a nearby hospital, the very same one where he had been born. The doctors there also thought it was a heart attack and began treating him for it. But the real problem was far more rare and deadly. John had something called an aortic dissection. This is a tear in the main artery that carries blood from the heart. It is an incredibly dangerous condition, and if it's not diagnosed correctly right away, it's almost always fatal. Tragically, his true condition was discovered too late. John Ritter passed away that evening at just 54 years old. The news was a complete shock to the world. John Ritter's passing was a sudden and terrible loss. But the story of our next actor is a reminder that some of the deepest struggles are the ones that a star has to carry with them from a very young age. 3. Alan Thicke from Growing Pains.
Alan Thicke was playing hockey with his teenage son in Burbank when he suffered an apparent heart attack. His death shocking to his fans and his TV family.
Every week in the 80s, Families gathered to watch Growing Pains. At the center of the show was Dr. Jason Seaver, the kind and wise psychiatrist Dad played by Alan Thicke. He was the perfect TV father, always ready with a gentle lesson and a warm smile. Alan himself was very much like his character, a devoted family man who was beloved in the entertainment industry for his kindness and good humor. He wasn't just an actor. He was also a talented songwriter who wrote the theme songs for famous shows like Different Strokes and The Facts of Life. He was a man of many talents who seemed to have it all. In December of 2016, at 69 years old, Alan was doing something he loved, playing ice hockey with his youngest son, Carter, who was 19 at the time. It was a normal day, just a father and son enjoying a game together. Suddenly, during the game, Alan collapsed on the ice. He had suffered a ruptured aorta, a catastrophic event similar to what happened to John Ritter. It happened in an instant, with no warning. An ambulance rushed him to the hospital, but the damage was too severe. One of the most heartbreaking details is that on the way to the hospital, he reportedly asked his son to take a picture of him on the stretcher, trying to keep the mood light. His last words were supposedly a thumbs up to his son. He passed away shortly after arriving. The loss of a beloved TV dad is always hard, but it's even more heartbreaking when the tragedy involves a child star who never got the chance to grow up in peace. 4. Gary Coleman from Different Strokes.
We did it! Did you bring the money? Tell my dad how much we won.
Arnold, I didn't bet on the race.
What you talking about, Manny?
What you talking about, Willis? That single line made little Gary Coleman a superstar. As Arnold Jackson on Different Strokes, the tiny kid with the big personality won the hearts of millions. He was the highest-paid child actor of his time, earning as much as $100,000 per episode, which was an unbelievable amount of money back then. He had his own catchphrase, his own cartoon show, and it seemed like he was on top of the world. But behind his adorable on-screen smile, Gary was fighting a tough battle. He was born with a serious kidney disease that stopped his growth. He stood only 4 feet 8 inches tall his entire adult life and had to undergo 2 kidney transplants before he was even 14 years old. The thing nobody tells you is that the money he made as a star was mismanaged by his parents and advisors. When he turned 18, he found that his massive fortune was nearly all gone. His adult life was filled with financial struggles, legal troubles, and health problems. He worked as a security guard to make ends meet, a far cry from his days as a Hollywood A-lister. In 2010, at the age of 42, he had a fall at his home in Utah and suffered from bleeding in his brain. He slipped into a coma and passed away shortly after. It was a sad end for a man who brought so much joy to others but found so little for himself. Gary's story is a classic tale of a child's star's fall from grace. Sadly, he wasn't the only young actor from that era whose life took a tragic turn. 5. Adam Rich from 8 is Enough.
Excuse me, but aren't you Merle the Pearl?
Well, some folks like to call me that.
Well, I call you that.
In the late 70s, one of the biggest shows on television was 8 is Enough, a series about a family with 8 children. The breakout star of the show was the youngest son, Nicholas Bradford, played by a boy with a cute page boy haircut named Adam Rich. With his adorable looks and charming personality, he was quickly nicknamed America's Little Brother. He was on lunchboxes, magazine covers, and was one of the most famous child actors in the world. He seemed to have a bright future ahead of him. But what many overlooked is that growing up in the spotlight can be incredibly difficult. When the show ended in 1981, Adam found it hard to transition from being a famous child star to an adult actor. He struggled to find roles and soon found himself heading down a dangerous path. For decades, he battled with personal demons and had a difficult relationship with substances. His life became a series of legal troubles and personal challenges. He tried to get his life back on track many times, but he could never quite escape the shadows of his past. In early 2023, the world was saddened to learn that Adam Rich had passed away at his home at the age of 54. His death was later attributed to the effects of a powerful substance. The little boy, who had been a brother to a whole generation of TV viewers, had lost his long and painful fight. The pressures of childhood fame can be immense. For our next star, her happy days on screen were followed by years of heartbreaking struggle in the real world. 6. Erin Moran from Happy Days.
Hey, Fonzie!
Yeah, hello, very short kid.
There's an old lady stealing your bike.
Oh, yeah. Well, later.
For an entire decade, Erin Moran played the lovable Joni Cunningham on the smash hit sitcom Happy Days. We watched her grow up on screen, from the sweet little sister of Richie to a young woman who fell in love with Chachi. Her on-screen romance was so popular that it even led to its own spin-off show, Joni Loves Chachi. She was America's sweetheart, a familiar face in millions of homes every Tuesday night. You see, being on a show as huge as Happy Days for 10 years can make it hard to be seen as anyone else. After the show ended, Erin found it difficult to get other acting jobs. Like many child stars, she was typecast, meaning producers could only see her as Joni. She had some small roles over the years, but she never again reached the same level of fame. Her life slowly began to spiral downwards. The last years of her life were filled with hardship. She struggled with financial problems, eventually losing her home in California. She moved into a trailer park in Indiana and was reportedly living in difficult conditions. In 2017, she passed away at the age of just 56. At first, there were many rumors about what happened, but her family later confirmed that she had been privately battling an aggressive form of throat cancer. Her passing was a tragic end for the girl who represented the wholesome joy of one of America's most beloved shows. Losing a battle with a terrible illness is heartbreaking, but the story of our next young actor involves a battle that was fought on the inside, a struggle with a kind of pain that no one else could see. 7. Andrew Koenig from Growing Pains.
I feel so great about this whole thing.
Yeah? You're not nervous?
Nah, for the first time in my whole life, I feel like tomorrow's gonna be different. Better, the best. I'm not gonna be just Boner anymore. I'm gonna be Private Richards to Bone.
Andrew Koenig was another familiar face on the set of Growing Pains. He played the role of Richard Boner Stabone, the goofy and loyal best friend of Kirk Cameron's character, Mike Seaver. He was a memorable recurring character in the show's first 4 seasons, known for his dim-witted but good-hearted nature. Andrew was the son of Walter Koenig, the actor who famously played Chekhov in the original Star Trek series, so he grew up around the world of acting. After his time on Growing Pains, Andrew continued to work in the industry, but he focused more on work behind the camera, as an editor and writer. He was also a dedicated activist, passionate about fighting for causes he believed in. To the outside world, he seemed to be a talented and caring person who was living a meaningful life. But on the inside, he was struggling deeply. The thing nobody tells you about depression is that it can affect anyone, even people who seem to have it all together. In February of 2010, Andrew went to visit friends in Vancouver, Canada. After some time, he stopped contacting his family and friends. A search began, and his story was all over the news as his family and friends pleaded for his safe return. Tragically, about 2 weeks later, his body was found in a park in Vancouver. He had tragically taken his own life. He was only 41 years old. His father later confirmed that his son had been battling depression for a long time. It is a terrible tragedy when someone succumbs to their own inner pain. But the next story is perhaps the most chilling of all, a story of a young actress whose life was violently stolen from her by a disturbed individual. 8. Rebecca Schaefer from My Sister Sam.
Brandon asked you out on a date? Yeah. Sam, that's hysterical. It is?
In the mid-'80s, a bright young actress named Rebecca Schaefer was on her way to becoming a huge star. She starred in the sitcom My Sister Sam as Patty Russell, a teenager who moves in with her older sister in San Francisco. The show was a hit, and Rebecca, with her talent and stunning looks, was getting a lot of attention. She had a promising career ahead of her and was even being considered for a role in the legendary movie The Godfather Part 3. You see, with fame comes attention, and not all of it is good. A young man from Arizona had developed a dangerous obsession with Rebecca. He wrote her letters and tried to meet her on the set of her show, but security turned him away. His obsession grew more and more intense. In a move that is truly horrifying, he hired a private investigator to find Rebecca's home address. Back then, it was shockingly easy to get this kind of information from public records. On July 18, 1989, the man showed up at her apartment building in Los Angeles. She answered the door, reportedly had a brief conversation with him, and asked him not to come back. He left, but he returned an hour later. When she opened the door a second time, he ended her life. Rebecca Schaefer was only 21 years old. The event was a massive shock to Hollywood and the nation. What many overlooked at the time was how vulnerable celebrities were. As a direct result of this horrific act, California passed the first anti-stalking laws in the country designed to protect people from this kind of terrifying harassment. Rebecca's story is a true crime tragedy that intersected with the world of sitcoms. But our next story is about a comedy genius whose own mind became a source of unimaginable pain. 9. Robin Williams from Mork and Mindy.
Why don't you show Mindy where you tucked away all those little emotions, huh?
Mayday! 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 All systems overload! Fall back defense line B! Prepare for assault system!
Robin Williams was a force of nature. He exploded into our living rooms in 1978 as Mork from the planet Ork on the show Mork and Mindy. His energy was incredible. He could do 1 million voices and characters in a minute, and his improvisations were legendary. Nanu Nanu became a national catchphrase. The show made him a global superstar, but it was just the beginning. He went on to become one of the most beloved movie stars of all time, famous for both his hilarious comedies and his powerful dramatic roles. He seemed like a man who was powered by pure joy and laughter. He could light up any room he walked into. But what many people didn't know was that for years he privately battled depression and dependency issues. He was open about some of his struggles, but in the last few years of his life, something else was happening. He was becoming more anxious and fearful, and his brilliant mind was not working the way it used to. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but that wasn't the full story. In August of 2014, the world was stunned and heartbroken by the news that Robin Williams had passed away by his own hand at the age of 63. It was a loss that was felt around the globe. It was only after his passing that the true cause of his suffering was revealed. An autopsy showed that he had been suffering from something called Lewy body dementia. It's a cruel and aggressive brain disease that attacks a person's memory, mood, and movement. His wife later said that he knew he was losing his mind, but he didn't know why. A truly terrifying and isolating experience for a man whose mind was his greatest gift. Hidden illness can be a silent battle. For the next actress on our list, a powerful voice was slowly being silenced by a lifetime of health challenges. 10. Nell Carter from Gimme a Break.
It's awful hard for Nell to stick to her diet when you're stuffing your face like that.
I'm not stuffing my face.
That's right. He's eating for two, in case he gets pregnant.
Nell Carter was a true powerhouse. With a singing voice that could shake the rafters and a commanding stage presence, she first conquered Broadway, winning a Tony Award for her performance in the musical Ain't Misbehavin'. Then, in 1981, she brought her immense talent to television with the sitcom Gimme a Break. She played Nell Harper, a wise-cracking housekeeper who becomes a mother figure to a police chief's 3 daughters. The show was a huge success, running for 6 seasons, largely thanks to Nell's incredible comedic timing and warmth. She was nominated for Emmys and Golden Globes for her work. But the thing nobody tells you is that throughout her life, she faced a series of serious health problems. She had a long struggle with diabetes, a condition that she had to manage constantly. In the 1990s, she also suffered from 2 brain aneurysms, which are dangerous bulges in a blood vessel in the brain, and she survived the risky surgeries to fix them. She was a fighter and continued to work in theater and television despite her health challenges. But her long battle was taking a toll on her body. In January of 2003, she was rehearsing for a play when she collapsed. Her son, who was 13 at the time, found her. Nell Carter had passed away at the age of 54. Her death was attributed to heart disease, likely complicated by her long struggle with diabetes. It was a sad end for a woman with a giant talent and an even bigger heart. Nell's health issues were known to some, but our next story is about an actress whose passing revealed a hidden problem that no one, not even she, knew was there. 11. Mary Fran from Newhart.
Windows out, huh?
Emily, what's the big deal?
For 8 seasons in the 1980s, millions of people tuned in to watch the quirky and hilarious sitcom Newhart. The show starred comedy legend Bob Newhart as an innkeeper in a small Vermont town filled with eccentric characters. Playing his beautiful and patient wife, Joanna Loudon, was the wonderful actress Mary Fran. She was the perfect straight woman to all the craziness happening around her, grounded and elegant with a subtle sense of humor. Mary was a familiar face on television for decades, appearing in numerous shows and TV movies. She was known for her beauty and grace, and she was also very active in charity work, supporting causes for the homeless. She seemed to be in perfect health and full of life. After Newhart ended, she continued to act and was busy with her career and personal life. That's why the news in September of 1998 was such a complete and utter shock to everyone who knew her. Mary Fran had passed away peacefully in her sleep at her home in Beverly Hills. She was only 55 years old. There was no sign of any illness or trouble. An autopsy later revealed the tragic cause. She had suffered from a fatal heart attack in her sleep. What was even more shocking was the discovery that she had an undiagnosed heart condition that had caused a silent heart attack sometime before her death. She likely never even knew she was at risk. A sudden and unexpected loss is always devastating. The next actor on our list also left the world far too soon due to a sudden and severe health crisis. 12. Theodore Wilson from Good Times.
Is you a commie? I mean, I ain't no social agency. You got to think of Sweet Daddy's image.
Theodore Wilson was one of those fantastic character actors whose face you knew, even if you didn't know his name. He had a long career playing dozens of roles, but he was probably best known to 70s sitcom fans from his time on Good Times. He played Sweet Daddy Williams, a flashy and funny neighborhood numbers runner. Later, he had a more prominent role on the Sanford & Son spin-off, The Red Fox Comedy Hour, and the show That's My Mama. He had a distinct voice and a great ability to be both funny and intimidating. He was a reliable actor who was always working, a true professional in his field. He was a staple of television in that era, bringing life to every character he played. He wasn't a leading man, but he was a crucial part of the fabric of many beloved shows. You see, sometimes tragedy strikes without any warning. In July of 1991, Theodore Wilson was going about his life as usual. There were no public reports of him being sick or having any long-term health issues. Then suddenly, he suffered from a massive stroke. A stroke happens when the blood supply to part of the brain is interrupted, and it can cause devastating damage. He was rushed to the hospital, but there was nothing that could be done. He passed away at the age of just 47. His passing was a quiet one, not making huge headlines, but it was a sad loss for the world of television. Losing a life at 47 is a tragedy. Our next story is about another actor who passed away far too young, a victim of a terrifying new illness that was sweeping the nation in the 1980s. 13. Franklin Seals from Silver Spoons.
Ah! You see, the thing is...
Hold that thought, gang. I love this part.
In the 80s, Silver Spoons was a popular sitcom about a rich, eccentric millionaire and his sensible young son. One of the key supporting characters was Dexter Stuffins, the fussy but brilliant business manager played by Franklin Seals. He was a great comedic foil for the show's main characters, always worried about finances and trying to bring some order to the chaotic household. Franklin was a classically trained actor who had performed in many serious plays before finding sitcom fame. He was a talented and versatile performer, but he was also a very private person. What his fans and even some of his co-workers didn't know was that he was fighting a serious battle. In the 1980s, a new and frightening illness known as AIDS was beginning to emerge. There was a lot of fear and misunderstanding surrounding it, and many people who had the illness suffered in silence. To put it mildly, it was a difficult time to be sick with this disease. Franklin Seals had contracted the virus and was dealing with its devastating effects. He kept his condition private, continuing to work as long as he could. Sadly, his health declined rapidly. In May of 1990, Franklin Seals passed away from complications related to AIDS. He was only 37 years old. His death was a quiet tragedy, one of the many talented artists whose lives were cut short by a disease that the world was only just beginning to understand. While some battles are fought in private, the next few actors on our list were the beloved landlords and parents of one of TV's most famous households, and their passings marked the end of an era. 14. Norman Fell from Three's Company.
How did you get me up here?
You had a lot to drink last night. You must have passed out.
I never pass out.
What are you doing in my bed?
I must have passed out.
Before Don Knotts played the upstairs landlord on Three's Company, the role belonged to the grumpy but lovable Stanley Roper, played by Norman Fell. Alongside his wife Helen, played by Audra Lindley, the Ropers were constantly snooping on their tenants, Jack, Janet, and Chrissy. Stanley was cheap, always complaining, and suspicious of Jack, but underneath it all, he had a good heart. The character was so popular that he and Audra Lindley got their own spin-off show, The Ropers. Norman Fell was a veteran actor who had been in movies and TV for decades. He was a master of the deadpan expression and the frustrated sigh. He was the perfect person to play the exasperated landlord. After his time as Mr. Roper, he continued to have a long and successful career, appearing in dozens of roles. But as he got older, he began to face health challenges. In the late 1990s, he was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. Cancer is a tough battle for anyone, and Norman fought it quietly and with dignity, away from the public spotlight. He continued to work when he could, but the disease eventually took its toll. In December of 1998, Norman Fell passed away at the age of 74. It was a sad loss of a television icon who had created one of the most memorable sitcom characters of the 70s. Losing Mr. Roper was tough for fans, but just a few years later, they would have to say goodbye to the other famous landlord from that classic show. 15. Don Knotts from Three's Company.
Mr. Furley, what are you doing?
Never mind what I'm doing. What are they doing?
Nothing.
Oh, don't give me that. I heard. Rub-a-dub-dub, come hop in my tub.
Don Knotts was already a comedy legend long before he ever walked onto the set of Three's Company. His role as the bumbling deputy Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith Show in the 1960s made him one of the most famous and beloved actors in America. He won an incredible 5 Emmy Awards for that role. So when he joined the cast of Three's Company as the new landlord, Ralph Furley, it was a huge deal. Mr. Furley was a riot. With his ridiculous leisure suits, his misplaced confidence, and his loud-mouthed bragging, he was completely different from Mr. Roper, but just as funny. Don Knotts' incredible talent for physical comedy and his nervous, high-pitched energy made Mr. Furley an instant fan favorite. He remained on the show until it ended in 1984. For decades after, Don continued to work, his voice and comedic style instantly recognizable to generations of fans. The thing nobody tells you is that for many years he was a heavy smoker. In the early 2000s, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. He fought the illness privately, but his health began to fail. In February of 2006, Don Knotts passed away from complications of the disease at the age of 81. He left behind a legacy of laughter that few could ever hope to match, from Mayberry to the apartment building in Santa Monica. The landlords were iconic, but so were the TV parents of that era. Our next star was the ultimate TV dad, a man who felt like a father to millions of viewers. 16. Tom Bosley from Happy Days.
What are you running away for?
You wouldn't understand.
The Fonz wouldn't understand? The dear Abby of Arnold wouldn't understand?
For 11 seasons on Happy Days, Tom Bosley played Howard Cunningham, who was better known as Mr. C. He was the quintessential 1950s American dad. He was wise, kind, a little bit flustered by the antics of the younger generation, but always loving and supportive. He was the calm center of the Cunningham household and, in many ways, the heart of the show. Tom Bosley's warm and gentle performance made Mr. C one of the most beloved TV fathers in history. Tom was a Tony Award-winning actor who had a long and distinguished career on stage and screen long before Happy Days. But it was the role of Mr. C that made him a true television icon. After the show ended, he remained a familiar and welcome presence on television, most notably starring in the mystery series Father Dowling Mysteries. He worked steadily for his entire life, a true professional who loved his craft. In 2010, his health began to decline. He was battling lung cancer, a fight he kept largely out of the public eye. In October of that year, Tom Bosley passed away at his home in Palm Springs, California, at the age of 83. The official cause was heart failure that was brought on by his cancer. With his passing, an entire generation of TV viewers felt like they had lost a member of their own family. From a beloved TV dad to a sassy TV mom, our next story is about an actress whose sharp wit and unique voice made her a sitcom legend. 17. Katherine Hellmond from Who's the Boss?
Angela, what is the problem?
The problem is, Mother, you sent me a man for a housekeeper.
Oh, don't be sexist. A man can do meaningless, unproductive work just as well as a woman.
In the 1980s, one of the biggest sitcoms was Who's the Boss? And one of the funniest characters on the show was the feisty, man-crazy mother, Mona Robinson. Played by the brilliant Katherine Hellmond, Mona was anything but a typical grandmother. She was bold, flirtatious, and always had a hilarious, sarcastic comment for every situation. Katherine's performance was so good that she was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards and won a Golden Globe. Before Who's the Boss?, she was also famous for her role as the ditzy Jessica Tate on the groundbreaking 70s sitcom Soap. She was a truly unique actress with a distinctive, sultry voice and amazing comedic timing. She could steal a scene with just a look or a perfectly delivered line. She continued to act for many years after her sitcom success, including lending her famous voice to the character of Lizzie in the Cars movies. What many people did not know was that in her later years, Katherine began to suffer from Alzheimer's disease. This is a progressive brain disorder that slowly destroys memory and thinking skills. For an actress whose career was built on her sharp mind and quick wit, it must have been a particularly cruel illness. She lived her final years in private, cared for by her husband. In February of 2019, Katherine Helmond passed away from complications of the disease at the age of 89, leaving behind a legacy of laughter and unforgettable characters. A battle with a long-term illness is a difficult journey. Our next actress was famous for her strength, and she showed that same strength in a public health battle that inspired millions. 18. Valerie Harper from The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
We lost a member of the CBS family on Friday, actress Valerie Harper, best known for her role as Rhoda on The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
And Rhoda Valerie Harper became a superstar in the 1970s, playing Rhoda Morgenstern, the wisecracking, self-deprecating best friend to Mary Tyler Moore. The character was so popular that she got her own spin-off series, Rhoda, which was a massive hit. Valerie won an incredible 4 Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe for playing the character that everyone loved. In the 80s, she returned to sitcoms with a show called Valerie, later renamed The Hogan Family after she left the series. She was a television icon, a symbol of the funny, independent modern woman. But in 2009, she faced the fight of her life when she was diagnosed with lung cancer. She fought it and was doing well, but then in 2013, she received devastating news. The cancer had spread to the membrane surrounding her brain. It was a rare and aggressive condition, and doctors told her she might only have 3 months to live. But Valerie was a fighter. She refused to give up. To put it mildly, she defied all expectations. She publicly shared her journey, inspiring countless people with her positive attitude and her determination to live every moment to the fullest. She didn't just live for 3 months. She lived for more than 6 years after that dire diagnosis. She continued to act, appear on talk shows, and even competed on Dancing with the Stars. In August of 2019, Valerie Harper finally lost her long and courageous battle at the age of 80. From one iconic woman to another, our next star was part of a legendary group of ladies who proved that comedy only gets better with age. 19. Rue McClanahan from The Golden Girls.
Miss! We've been robbed! Oh, boy. Shh, be quiet. They could still be here. Who?
The Supreme Court. Who?
Thank you for being a friend. That song brings back memories of 4 amazing women sitting around a kitchen table, eating cheesecake. The Golden Girls was a groundbreaking sitcom in the 80s, and at the heart of the group was the sassy Southern belle Blanche Devereaux, played perfectly by Rue McClanahan. Blanche was obsessed with men and her own fading youth, and Rue played her with a hilarious mix of vanity and vulnerability. Rue had a long career in television, often playing alongside her future Golden Girls co-star B. Arthur on the show Maude. But it was the role of Blanche that cemented her status as a television legend. She won an Emmy Award for her work and became a beloved icon for her portrayal of a woman who refused to grow old quietly. In her later years, Rue faced several health scares. In 1997, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, which she successfully beat. Then, in 2009, she had to undergo heart bypass surgery. While she was recovering from the surgery, she suffered a minor stroke. A stroke can be a very serious event, and while she was working on her recovery and physical therapy, she suffered a much more severe one. In June of 2010, Rue McClanahan passed away from a brain hemorrhage caused by the stroke. She was 76 years old. She was the third of the 4 Golden Girls to pass away, leaving a huge hole in the world of comedy. Our final story is about an actor who found sitcom fame early in his career before becoming a massive movie star, and whose life ended in a shocking and fiery public tragedy. 20. Paul Walker from Throb.
What is success to you?
Success is balance in life. That's the most difficult thing to find.
Most people remember Paul Walker as the handsome, charismatic star of the massive Fast and Furious movie franchise. He was Brian O'Connor, the cool undercover cop turned street racer who became a global action hero. His movie star looks and easygoing charm made him a fan favorite all over the world. But what many overlooked is that long before he was driving souped-up cars on the big screen, he was a young actor trying to make it on television. In 1986, he had one of his first regular roles on a sitcom called Throb. The show was about a record company, and Paul played the 12-year-old son of the main character. It was a small but important step in his long journey to stardom. You see, Paul had a real-life passion for fast cars, just like his famous character. He was also known for his incredible generosity and charity work. In November of 2013, he was attending a charity event for his organization, Reach Out Worldwide. He and a friend left the event in a high-performance Porsche sports car. His friend was driving. Tragically, the car was traveling at a very high speed, reportedly over 100 miles per hour, when the driver lost control. The car crashed into a light pole and several trees before bursting into flames. Both Paul and his friend perished in the accident. Paul Walker was only 40 years old. The news of his sudden and violent passing was a profound shock to his fans and the entire industry, a tragic end for a man known for his kindness and his love of life.